Hi everyone. I'm continuing a series here that I've been letting lay dormant for too long, and hopefully in 2017 I can continue this a lot more. It's listening to albums for the first time in their entirety, albums that I haven't played fully through ever before, and coming up with a verdict as to whether or not I'm going to keep it in my collection or siphon it out, because as you can see I have a lot of records here, and some of them I have to downsize. Got to see what's going to stay, what's going to go, and I have 4 albums this time that I'm going to show you here, and some notes on a couple of them just to help me along here, from because one of them at least, it's been a while since I listened to it, and I wanted to make sure I remembered. Well, anyway, I start out with this album. This is Quarterflash, a 1981 release, self-titled album. And the reason that I picked this album up was because I love the song Harden My Heart, which is really great, and it's a single from the early 80s that I like very much. Always takes me back to those special times, and have a lot of personal memories of it. And there was also another song on here that I liked. It's called Find Another Fool, which is not really to me as good as Harden My Heart, but they're both pretty good. I played this album in full, and it's a pleasant album all the way through. Rindy Ross is the lead vocalist, and you got a song here that I kind of like on side 2. I noticed Right Kind of Love. And it's all got the same kind of pleasant kind of vocal sound with a lot of sax. I basically, in listening to it, came to the conclusion that the rest of the album, while pleasant, didn't really do much for me as a whole. Although I can listen to it straight through. Don't know how many times I would elect to take this out and play the whole album, but definitely just for the song Harden My Heart alone, which I think I already have on a 45, and for Find Another Fool, I'm going to keep this. It's one of those 2-song, 12-inch singles, you might call it, that take up extra space, but there's certain albums that for whatever reason you just have some kind of I don't know, personal relation to it, and this just reminds me of those days of the early 80s and the friends that I had at the time, and some girls I was dating and stuff. It's just something I'd like to keep, so I'll keep it. Okay, next up, move this over here. First Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers album, self-titled Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Now, I consider myself a Tom Petty fan because I just like his biggest songs. I mean, I have, I think, a double CD hits collection, but I don't really play all the albums in their entirety. When I want my fix of Tom Petty, who I like a lot, I just play the hits collection. I'm happy with that. I have the hits compilation from 1993 that has Mary Jane's Last Dance on it, which I really love that song a lot. And it was new for that particular release. And I either play that one or the double one that came out later. But this first time I played the whole thing, and I would say that I enjoyed this pretty much straight through. The only thing is, side 1 to me was more strong. I like side 1 a lot better than side 2. I would keep this in my collection, and I have other Tom Petty albums that I want to go through in their entirety. Yeah, I thought the side 1 was stronger, but one thing that's always been curious to me is that the best song on this album, in my opinion, which is American Girl, which is one of his big hits, is left for the last track of the album on side 2, and it just, I mean, not that it really changes anything as far as the album enjoyment is concerned, but I would have thought that would be a great kickoff opening track on side 1. It begs to be the first track, followed by Breakdown as side 2, which is the other hit. But I enjoyed other songs here, the non-hits, ones that I wasn't familiar with. So I'm looking forward to listening to the rest of Tom Petty's catalog in full. So this stays into the collection. Okay, I've had a little bit of issue with this particular artist in recent events, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to make too much about it. It's Madonna, the ever controversial Madonna. She's been shooting her mouth off a lot lately, and that kind of made me think about, let me dig out the first album by her, which I've never played in its entirety, and give it a listen. Uh, I can tell you that overall I enjoyed this album as well, and I think it's going to stay in my collection. I only really knew the hits on here: "Lucky Star," "Borderline," uh, "Burning Up," and I didn't know. I didn't think I knew the song "Everybody," but when I heard it, yeah, I recognized it. There's 4 songs on here. There were only 8 tracks altogether, but 4 songs that I think are really good, and the rest of them are also serviceable. They're good enough. It's a good, strong debut album from Madonna, I think. Um, Borderline is by far my favorite song on here. I like Borderline best, followed by Holiday, uh, uh, Burning Up, Lucky Star. No surprise that the ones that I really like are the ones that I'm familiar with that sound really good from hearing them so many years. But, the album, it's synthesizer disco. First thing I was kind of amazed with when I heard this was I didn't realize that this album was recorded in 1982, as early as that. Didn't know that she started that early. Whenever I think of Madonna, I always think of her as 1984, 1985, with Like a Virgin and all that. And I never really think about her being, starting out so much earlier than that. Because just the music that I liked from the early 80s that I used to go to the clubs and listen to, it just seemed that this was something more, I don't know, futuristic, if you will. And playing this, it just made me think that, I don't mean to criticize this too much because I did enjoy the record, but I started thinking, a lot of the sounds on this record, I can't think of the right term, the drum machine sound, the drum machine and kind of artificial music, pop sound, kind of made me think of today's music, and I'm wondering if this wasn't a precursor to that. This is like, seems like a lot of this sound seems like the music from today that I'm not really wild about, although this is, to me, is much better than the pop music of today. But it seems like the roots were really sown here, and I was impressed in a way because I didn't think that had started so early for Madonna as 82, 83. The music that I was listening to, a lot of the top 40 from that time that I liked, wasn't as, I don't know, advanced as this. Okay, there's another album, Fats Domino. Go to the 1950s. I have a whole bunch of Fats Domino albums. Fats Domino, I'm of course familiar with his big hits, and not so much other album tracks. I just, not too long ago, picked up a collection, this is one of them, of a lot of French records. This is a French import, and I got them very cheap, and I bought, like, it must be at least, I don't know if it was half a dozen, maybe 10, 6 to 10 Fats Domino records. I just pulled this one out at random to give it a listen. Of course, the big songs that you know of here are My Blue Heaven, and great song, I'm in Love Again, which is my favorite track on here. Those are the hits off here. I enjoyed the whole record, man. Again, this is 4 for 4. There's not one album here I will not keep, and that kind of defeats the purpose. It's always good to give something a jab and to get rid of something from your collection. Try to weed it out a lot. But all these albums I'm keeping today, and there's a couple instrumentals on here that were really good. Swanee River Hop, Second Line Jump. Just really good piano, masterful piano, and the horns in here. I mean, it's just really good. Everything. I could listen to this all the way through. I think Fats Domino, and this is the second Fats Domino album I played in its entirety. I did one in another review, I think. I think I like the man's voice. I like his style. I like his playing to the point where I can almost listen to anything, I think. So that's good, right? There's not many artists that I like just almost anything they do. Anyway, that's it. As I say, I hope I keep this series up because it'll be fun. And I've got a lot of records here to go through that I haven't played in their entirety yet. Just a track here or a track there. So thanks everybody for watching, and tell me what you think in the comments.